Good afternoon. If everybody could take a seat, we'll get started. I want to welcome everyone to the swearing-in ceremony for our newest juvenile court judge, Nhan-Ai Du Simms. I've been asked to introduce her to most of you. I see she needs very little introduction. I see a lot of her friends here and her family. But I'm going to go ahead and start. First of all, I knew we were going to be here, not today specifically, but one day. And I knew that because when I hired Nhan-Ai as an assistant DA, she talked about her ambition in the juvenile court and her ambition to be a juvenile court judge. And it was obvious from that interview that she had a passion for the job. And when you hire in the DA's office and you have a juvenile court, you are looking for folks who have that passion. And so we hired her as quick as we could and got her to work and stole her from Apple. And so that was one of the things that I knew will eventually be here this day. The second part is she told me, because when she applied for the job, she came in, and what happens is folks in my office apply for a judgeship. It usually involves them walking into my office, looking very chic, closing the door like they have something that I've never heard before. And they go, I'm thinking about putting into that judgeship. I go, great, go and do it. Because I've never been the kind of person who stood in somebody's way, and I knew she would do a great job. And so I knew we were destined to be here that day because she told me. And then finally, I knew we were destined to be here today because of who she is and where she comes from. A lot of you don't know her background, maybe you do, but she and her family escaped. I won't say immigrated. They escaped from Vietnam in the 1980s, and through a long and winding path, finally came to the United States. Her parents made a success of their life here and raised Nhan-Ai, and she went to school and ended up in law school, and you don't do that without a certain kind of drive and a certain kind of ambition and a certain kind of skill. And so I think it's partly her upbringing and partly her training that have brought us to this day. When she first came to work, she was determined to go over to the juvenile court. And for those of you who don't remember, it was during the time when we first started the new juvenile court code, which is now 6 years old, and still nobody really understands it except Nhan-Ai. So I delegated her to be sort of the legal expert of the office in the new juvenile code, and she excelled at that. She trained new assistant DAs. She taught police officers on her own time. She trained police officers, all the while maintaining a real life with her husband Jonathan and her son. And yet, when the time came and I needed to call on her to do something extra or pay specific attention to a specific case, she was always happy to drop whatever she did and take that on. So it's without question that I knew we were going to be here one day, and I knew we were going to be here because of all of the qualities that will make Nhan-Ai a great judge. And I want to say I'm sorry that you're leaving. It's a loss to the office, but it's a great gain to the bench in this county. It's a great gain to the citizens of Gwinnett County. It's a great gain to the court system. I'm not allowed to welcome you to that because I'm not part of it. But I want to say congratulations, and I'm going to turn it over to Paul.
Can you hear me with the mask on? I haven't been out of the house and indoors without a mask on this morning. So I'm on a roll. I'll keep it there. I'll try to keep it there. I haven't done a lot of things this month. I haven't gotten a haircut. falling behind. Well, I'm so honored, so to be introducing these students today. I feel like I'm on trial again because Deanna gave the first opening statements. I got to cut out a fair amount of what I was going to say. It's going to be redundant. But the Simms is Vietnamese. The family is from Vietnam. Her father served in the war. He was in prison there. And after he got out of prison, he's a bit of an entrepreneur, apparently. I've never seen him until today, but I've heard about the Blue Bunny cigarette. He started making cigarettes and putting a little blue Playboy bunny on them, and they became quite popular. He sold enough and made enough money to book the passage out of Vietnam into Indonesia. And Miss Simms was there. From Indonesia, the family made its way to the United States of America under a program existing back in the late 70s, early 80s, to allow people from Vietnam to come to the United States, become citizens, have a second chance at a shot of freedom. They settled in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. They were sponsored by the Episcopal Church there, St. John's Episcopal Church. Got to give a shout out to my Episcopalian brethren up there. We still do stuff like that. Miss Simms was educated there. She and her brother and her sister went to school there. And when she finished high school, she went to Williamsburg, Virginia, and attended the College of William and Mary. And I'm told that when she graduated, she disappointed her parents by coming south to Atlanta, Georgia. But she had a neighbor who was a lawyer for a big downtown firm, helped her get a job there, and for 3 years she worked at Austin and Bird. I'm not sure what she did, but whatever she did, she liked it enough, and she decided she wanted to go to law school. I want to tell you why she wanted to go to law school, because it says a lot about who she is. And I'm telling you this in her own words, with quotation marks in it. She really said it. Reason number one, there has always been a part of me that has wanted to give back to the people who give. That tells you a lot about who Miss Simms is, because that's her. That's her. The second reason, and again, these are her words, not mine. I kind of just went to law school because I have always liked arguing, and I figured I would learn how to get better at it. And I know her family knows this, but for those of you who don't know that, well, that is also this. That's who she is. Well, she got out of law school. She went to Clark County. She prosecuted. She defended. Because, as Dan Porter said, in 2014, she came to Gwinnett County, worked in the juvenile court, and she has, thinking about this on the way over here, I believe she's worked as an attorney, as an assistant district attorney in front of every juvenile court judge there's ever been in Gwinnett County. She knows the law. She's well spoken. She doesn't look for fights, but she doesn't run from fights either. She's a very good listener. But when she listens, she's really hearing. And she's going to be a great judge. And if I'll shut up, she'll be a great judge really soon. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to ask Judge Whitner to come up and just him. Congratulations. And
Thank you. This day's been a long day coming, so thank you. And Lucas is obviously very excited. You know, I know that a lot of hard work obviously went into getting here, but I would be remiss if I didn't admit to the fact that I could not be here without many of the people that are sitting in this room right now. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Superior Court judges who appointed me to the bench and who are giving me a chance. I know that I haven't practiced in front of many of you for too long, but you guys took a chance on me, and I hope to be the wonderful judge and honor the law the way that you hope that I will. So thank you very much to the Superior Court bench. I want to also thank Judge Kevin Guidry, who I believe is sitting all the way in the back right there. Back in 2014, I had the opportunity to clerk for Judge Guidry, who is a juvenile court judge over in the Piedmont Circuit. He's retired now. But it was having clerked for him that I realized that juvenile law was something that I was really interested in. And Judge Guidry himself has this knack of just going through the law word for word, and he kind of taught me how to do that. So in learning the juvenile code, when I was working for Judge Guidry, that's kind of what turned me on to juvenile law. And I don't know if Judge Guidry, you know that, but you set me on this path, this trajectory that has brought me here today. So for that, I am very thankful. I'd also like to thank Danny Porter, because in 2014, after I clerked for Judge Guidry, he took a chance on me. You know, working in Gwinnett was something that I wanted to do for a very long time. And Danny gave me the opportunity to do that. And I can say without a doubt that working for Danny in the DA's office here in Gwinnett has been the highlight of my professional career. One of the things I noticed when I started working for Danny was the fact that most of his staff, almost all of his staff, when they start working for him, legal professionals, administrative associates, investigators, when they start working for Danny, they don't leave. Attorneys now, of course, you know, we're always on to the next best thing. But when it comes to his staff, they always stay. And I think that's a testament to who he is. He creates an office where people want to work, where people want to be a team. We always know that we can depend on him. We always know that he has our backs. He may yell at us behind closed doors, but in front of everyone else, he is always supportive. And working for Danny has been an absolute privilege. He has shown me what it means to be a servant to the community. For 30 years, he has done that here in Gwinnett County. And Danny, I will be forever grateful for you giving me the opportunity to work for you. And of course, having worked there, I had the chance to meet what I consider my DA family. I had the opportunity to work with so many wonderful prosecutors, experienced prosecutors, seasoned prosecutors like Lisa Jones, Dan Mayfield, who couldn't be here today, Judge Tracy Cason, who was at the DA's office. Getting the opportunity to see those attorneys work in action, I realized that there are true servants to the community and that they were always working for justice. It was never about just winning the case. It was always about seeking the truth and doing what was right. And I had the opportunity to work with so many of those prosecutors while here in Gwinnett, and for that I will be thankful. And when Danny, as he mentioned, when he hired me here, I've always been in juvenile court. So for the past 6 years, I've prosecuted cases over in juvenile court. And there I got the opportunity and the privilege to practice among very experienced and very loving judges. A lot of judges who taught me a lot of what I know here today. Unfortunately, Judge Robert Rodatis, whose vacancy was the one I'll be filling, and also Judge Francine couldn't be here today. They are both retired, but I had the opportunity to work with both of them. And Judge Rodatis, I believe you are watching this live stream. I know that I have huge shoes to fill, and there is not a part of me that thinks that I will ever be able to do in the 30 years what you have done for juvenile court. Robert Rodatis has made juvenile court here in Gwinnett County what it is today. To be able to step into his place is an honor, and if I can do half as much as he has done since his time here in Gwinnett, then I will consider my job successful. Now, obviously, working in court, I always had the opportunity to come across wonderful attorneys as well. Attorneys mostly on the other side when I was here in Gwinnett, defense attorneys who are formidable opponents in the courtroom, but attorneys that I also am now able to call friends, and for that I am truly grateful. Attorneys like Chuck Estration, Pat McDonough, Lyle Porter, David Lipscomb. All of you have been somewhat kind of mentors to me here in Gwinnett. There's lots of things that I still have to learn, and I think I'm learning it every day. But each and every one of you has made it so that I am a better attorney when I am in the courtroom. But more importantly, you've made it so that I can call you friends. Now, of course, the attorneys that I've met here are not the only ones I've ever worked with. When I began my career over in Athens, Lisa Pappas, who I don't believe could be here today, she is an ADA here in Gwinnett. She taught me everything I knew about prosecution. I went to the Gwinnett DA's office, or the Athens DA's office at the time, and I didn't know a single thing to do. And I simply went into Lisa's office and I sat down in her office and just told her, tell me what I'm supposed to do. And she did. And I ended up moving over here to Gwinnett, but then once I was here, I rescued Lisa as well. So I'm happy to say that Lisa was here, but attorneys also like Emily Harrell, formerly Emily Norris, who is sitting in this courtroom as well, one of my best friends. She made me a better prosecutor. Kevin Epps, who is also here. Again, a formidable opponent in the courtroom, but one I am lucky to call my friend. So to all of you who have made me a better attorney, thank you so much. And of course, if you guys don't know this, but to be a judge in Gwinnett County, you have to live in Gwinnett County. And I'll be absolutely honest, I wasn't sure if that was ever going to happen because my husband, Jonathan, had been in Athens, Clark County since he was 4 years old. And if any of you here know Athens, most people who live there love it and they don't want to leave. And my husband is by all means an Athenian. He's been there his whole life. He has been a detective at that police department for 20 years. And he knew at some point that being a judge is what I wanted to do. And he knew that I wanted to do it here in Gwinnett County, not in Athens. Because here is where I worked, here is where I learned a lot about juvenile law. So he gave me that chance by allowing us to move our family here. And I always joke, I tell people, and I tell him to his face that I think he's an absolute genius, obviously because he married me. But ultimately, you know, there is not a day that goes by that I don't realize that I am the lucky one in the marriage. So thank you, Jonathan, for your support and your love. One of the things they asked me when I interviewed for this job was, what is it about juvenile law that you like so much? What is it about your job currently that you like so much? And a big part of it for me was once I started working in juvenile court, I realized what big of a difference having a positive parental figure in your life makes for the life of a child. And I realized also how lucky I was because I always had that. I had two parents who were very strong. Kim Du and Van Du sitting right in the front row. You know, I learned that's once I had a child myself and I kind of realized what it is, what parental love is and what it does and how beneficial it is for a child. And again, I always had that. Parental love for my father meant surviving 3 years in a prison camp and making it so that he could survive and get his family out. For my mother, it meant literally tying my older brother and sister to her side when they escaped Vietnam on a small fishing boat. For both of them, it meant coming to this country and not knowing a word of a language, not knowing the culture, following their pride, because already having been college educated in Vietnam, they knew that when they came here, they were going to have to start all over. And start all over they did. They worked menial jobs. They put themselves back through school, ended up getting masters in computer science. I have very distinct memories growing up of my mother in her bedroom, and she had a computer science textbook on one side and a Vietnamese English translation dictionary on the other. And she would go back word for word, trying to figure out what that textbook said. And to this day, computer science, I probably couldn't figure out what it said, but she did. And they ended up with master's degrees, and they did it all the while raising 3 kids. The oldest, my older brother, who couldn't be here today, ended up being a doctor who decided to also graduate from Emory Law School with My older sister, who has had a very successful career up on Wall Street, and their youngest daughter, who stands in front of you today as the first Asian American juvenile court judge here in Gwinnett County. Suffice it to say, I believe my parents did a pretty good job, and I owe them a debt that I will never be able to repay. But to Mom and Dad, thank you. Mom and you. And there's one little anecdote I want to leave you with before we go. I remember also when my parents became citizens of this country. It was back in, I believe it was 1986 or 87. And prior to working as a prosecutor, one of the things I did was I Googled myself just in case there was anything out there on the internet. Now that I was in the public sector, I wanted to make sure I wanted to see what it was. And my name being a rather unique name, a lot of the things that came up were specific towards me. And up came this article that was written back in 1986 or 87. And it was called The Best Free Show in Town. And the reporter had attended a U.S. citizenship ceremony in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, where we grew up. And the reporter apparently interviewed a young Vietnamese girl who at the time thought it would be great to show off and tell her that I could speak both English and Vietnamese. I guess I was really proud of that. But I remember that day specifically because one of the things I recall is I was sitting in the audience and there was this room full of individuals that were becoming U.S. citizens. They were so excited about it. And there was this gentleman in the front of the room wearing a long black robe, Federal Judge Harold Sheely, who is no longer with us now. But I remember looking up at him and thinking how incredible he must be and how that robe must be somewhat magical because somehow, with whatever job that he had, he was able to make everyone in the room a U.S. citizen. He was able to make everyone happy. And I thought to myself, I don't know what he does. I don't know what that robe is, but maybe that's something that I could eventually do myself. And so now I stand here in front of you some 3 decades later, hoping to be able to do that. And so I can pledge here today that with this opportunity, I will follow and I will honor the law here in Georgia. And I will do my best to make the decisions that I believe will promote the safety and promote the best interests of what I truly believe is the most precious commodity that our society has, our children. Thank you very much. Here's the reception over at Iron Shield Brewery. After this, it's supposed to start at 5, but if we arrive a little early, that's fine. It's a very open space, so I hope all of you can make it.